A fossil, a fossil.
Welcome to second grade ELA Tidbits. I'm Barbara Truitt, your second grade curriculum specialist. You can access the full G2 Tidbits deck using the bit.ly G2 Tidbits 25. The slides include my detailed notes and links to all the resources discussed. Today we're going to break down modules for the week of November 3rd. This week we're launching a new module and a new unit. Our roadmap shows the journey of the standards throughout the week. In Module 2, Unit 1, students launch their learning about the study of fossils and paleontologists. Students engage in a close read-aloud of the text Stone Girl, Bone Girl. Because this is a narrative nonfiction text, students interact with their reading literature standards. In the first 3 sessions of the close read-aloud, students practice RL 21, 22, 25, and 27. W26 and SL22 act as vehicle standards for students to express their understanding in both speaking and writing. The close read-aloud sessions prepare students for success on the multiple choice and constructed response questions of the unit assessment. Recounting is critical to this unit, so today we're going to unpack RL22 and 25 and see how they're interconnected. Next week we'll look at RL21 and 23 in more detail. RL22 asks students to recount stories including fables and folktales from diverse cultures and determine their central message, lesson, or moral. The natural DOK of RL22 is DOK2, skills and concepts. Recounting a story requires students to explain the sequence of events and show how they relate. Students must make inferences to move from the story events to the underlying message or moral. Let's dig deeper into Anchor Standard RL2 to see its vertical progression from 1st to 4th grade. Students begin independently retelling stories in 1st grade, but the expectation doesn't require them to retell in order. Beginning in 2nd grade and continuing through 3rd grade, students shift from retelling to recounting. Here, the order matters. Students are expected to recount key events in chronological order. In 4th grade, the cognitive demand shifts from recounting in order to synthesizing a summary of main points. The second part of RL2 requires students to understand the central message of the text. The central message is the underlying concept within a text to which other elements or ideas relate. In 1st grade, students are expected to demonstrate understanding of the central message. By 2nd grade, students determine the central message. By the end of 3rd grade, students should be able to explain how the author conveys the central message through details from the text. This progression prepares students for 4th grade when they begin to determine themes of the text. RL22 also includes determining the moral or lesson of folktales and fables. Like central message, this begins in 1st grade and continues to 4th grade when students move to themes and summarizing. One strategy that is not in our standards but is used consistently in the EL curriculum is GIST. GIST is a comprehension strategy that lives somewhere between recounting and summarizing. GIST is actually an acronym that stands for Generating Interactions Between Schema and Text. It is a procedure that helps students use their background knowledge or schema and the text new information to gain a surface level understanding of what they are reading. GIST is not the same as summarizing or finding the main idea. Often these are taught interchangeably by mistake. As reading teachers, it's important to know that gisting is a strategy that may help students summarize information, but it is not the actual act of summarizing. RL25 is a craft and structure standard that helps students use familiar narrative structures to recount stories. Students describe the overall structure of a story, including describing how the beginning introduces the story, the events unfold in the middle, and the ending concludes the action. Like RL22, the natural DOK of RL25 is DOK2, skills and concepts. Students describe literary elements of basic plot structure and make basic inferences or logical predictions based on what they know about the narrative structure. Here is a quick look at how RL22 and RL25 work together. The structure knowledge from RL25 provides a framework that helps students organize their recounting for RL22. When students understand that stories have a beginning, middle, and end, they can more effectively recount the events in order and identify how those events lead to the central message. This is why these standards are often taught together. Structure supports comprehension, and comprehension helps students see how the structure serves the story's purpose. Let's look at teacher and student actions for RL22 and 25. The aligned learning target in Lesson 3 narrative is, I can retell the beginning of Stone Girl, Bone Girl using important details about events and characters. Notice that the learning target uses the word retell, while our standards use the word recount. This is an example of why it is important to have a deeper understanding of the aligned standards. What's key here is that order matters, where in 1st grade, it may not. For ongoing assessment, the lesson notes using the reading literature checklist to monitor student progress. During the close read in work time A, students engage in a key language dive. In work time B, they practice RL22 and 25. Work time B begins with unpacking the learning target. Often, this part of the lesson is where students are introduced to and practice academic language. Next, the teacher explicitly models a non-example of recounting, which is too long, and another non-example, which is too short. Then, students work with predetermined partners to retell the beginning of the story. This is where your academic monitoring can take place using your reading literature checklist. Total participation techniques are key during close read-alouds and activities like this when students are practicing orally. TPTs like turn and talk, think, pair, share, and role play ensure that all students have the opportunity to practice. This is in contrast to calling on one student who raises their hand while the other students have the option to opt out. TPTs also give the teacher the opportunity to monitor progress because the students are doing the work. Now that we have a better understanding of the standard and how it is practiced, let's look at how it is assessed. The RL checklist is used for academic monitoring when you listen to and observe student practice. In Lesson 4, students move from orally practicing recounting to using a graphic organizer. This is in preparation for the unit assessment. It is always a good idea to unpack the unit assessment prior to launching the unit. There are several ways to support students as they practice RL 2.2 and 2.5. If students have difficulty articulating the events orally, then provide students with a set of the story pictures and have them describe what they see. Or provide retelling sentence frames for different parts of the story. If students have difficulty sequencing the events when recounting, then use retelling sorting cards and the corresponding story pictures as a practice tool. Or use physical movement to teach retelling. You can place 3 laminated dots on the floor to represent beginning, middle, and end. Have students step to the left as they sequence using the words first, next, and last. You can find these supports linked in my notes and in the Module 2 Advancing Student Learning on All Things Literacy. Thank you for joining me for this week's tidbit. See you back next week.
While some are small and some are big, then others are colossal.